Hey homies, what's up? I'm gonna leave this here for a moment. You can soak in the glory of Hammerella while we set up for this inking warm-up. Doing a live test here. I'm gonna tweet it out that we are going live. We're gonna be doing some brush warm-ups, and we're gonna be setting up for working on a commission. All right, tweeting that out. And so I am Ryan Wynn. I am the co-creator of Gods and Gears with Dean Kotz. I am the writer and artist on Hammerella. There's a link down below. Sort of a cosmic jungle book story. A young half-witch, half-god raised on an isolated planet filled with deadly beasts. She finally escapes and gets her way to civilization, only to find herself in the midst of a galactic war. So the link is down below if you haven't checked it out. We have 28 days to go. 78%. We are kicking butt there. But enough of that. What we are working on today is sort of a redo of a commission that I had. Oh, we got some people showing up. Hey, what's up, everybody? We got Art C. What's up, buddy? Ferris, what is up? All right. So I was working on a commission earlier this year of a U.S. soldier, a doughboy from World War I. I wanted to make him super heroic and inked it up and sent it off, and it went to a wrong address, and we never heard back from the people, and it's sort of gone for now. So anyways, I have printed it up. I have fixed what I actually didn't like in the old one. I fixed some things like I'm making adjustments on his hand and his face that I really like. So I'm trying to have a positive outlook on it. But before I do that, I wanted to do some ink warm-ups. And we're going to be doing some ink warm-ups with the Raphael 8404 size 2, name of Stinger, because she is so sharp. And the ink we are using is nice and simple, Black India Rapidograph ink Ultra Draw. May not be the bestest stuff out there, but I like the way it flows off the brush, and I like how it barely lifts when you erase it. Gonna load up the brush with water. Gonna dip about 2/3 to halfway on the brush. I don't tend to go much further than 2/3 with the ink. I have a little bit of a scratch board on the side, which I can show you what I do on my scratch board. I sort of wipe some of the extra ink off. I'll also do that on the inside edge of the jar, sort of like that, and flick it on the inside edge of the jar. And then when I want to really warm up, it's been a day or so since I inked, my hands aren't used to it. I do not want to start on a drawing. So I'm just going to do some fine little lines. Now the brush is really wet. It's loaded up with tons of water and ink. So these lines, they want to get fat. They want to get thick. They want to get juicy. And we're going to get there. But I want to have a little bit of brush control from the beginning. Just let the very few hairs at the very tip just drag across the paper. My general movement when I'm doing these is sort of thin to thick to thin, like you're landing an airplane and taking off again. And right now I'm being a little loose. I'm just kind of letting my hand go in different directions too, but kind of keeping a consistency of thinness. And with the amount of ink I have loaded on the brush, it'll last for at least another minute or so, just doing thin lines like this. But yeah, I can feel my wrist is still a little bit tight. And I can feel some of my fingers are a little, my joints are a little tight too, so they'll start loosening up as we go. Now I do have a firm grip on the brush, but I release that every once in a while. You don't want to have constant strain on these muscles here, just bearing down the whole time. So I will actually be holding tight now as I do the brush strokes. And then even when I move like that, just to move my hand a little, I'll completely relax this muscle. Your hand stays in this position, so you're not going to really drop your brush. And I'm not saying let go of all muscle, but just you can relax these muscles enough. You want them moving. You don't want them contracted the whole time. These are the things you learn as time goes by, because you need to make the most out of your time and the most out of your tools, and your hand and arms and shoulders, your body basically being a tool as well. So relax the hand and then tighten back up right before. And now I'm going to start bearing down a little bit. So we're going to be using up some of the ink now. I'm going to try some gradations to big old thick diamond lines here. Make sure we're in frame. All right. Sorry, I should have pushed the camera forward for those small ones. I think I'm going to push it forward here anyways. Hold on one sec. Adjust some lighting. There we go. There we go. Who else we got here? Hey, Simonin7. Welcome. Justin H. Everyone, Justin H is an awesome artist. Love seeing what he does over on Instagram, Justin Holton. All right, welcome everybody. So, those that just joined us, doing brush warm-ups. Start thin, wispy, and build up. So we still have that same, I haven't re-dipped the brush yet. This is still on the first dip. So we're gonna go in and do some little diamond lines, thin to thick to thin. These are just fun to me. You don't have to warm up the same way. You don't have to do these same kind of lines, but I do recommend warming up regularly. I'm always told by experienced artists that it's something they never do. I look at their work and I can see it. This is the same. If you were a professional athlete, you would never just roll up to the game and just start playing. You would stretch, you would warm up, you would run some drills, and then you play the game. Every professional sports team does it. Every professional athlete does it. I don't know why artists don't warm up more. All right, now the brush is starting to dry up a little. So we're gonna give it a wash in the tub of water. We're gonna wipe a little of that water off on the inside of the water jar, and then again, just a halfway to 2/3 dip on the brush. On good old Stinger, our Raphael brush, and she is ready to go. So this is what's cool about working with a brush. One of the things I like is you can load up the brush. Let me get a good spot here. Load up the brush. It's very full of water and ink right now. But if you barely touch the brush to the paper, you can still get these thin lines. And with that same tool, I can immediately bear down and get that sort of transition of line. And that's only from bearing down that same position. So you can, same brush, just a few moments later, barely any ink used, thin lines. Then you can even transition, you pull back on the brush. It's like choking up on a baseball bat. You choke up on the brush, you pull back, and you're gonna swing this line, and you can get big ol' fat, thick lines. I tweaked some of the hairs, so I'm gonna give it a little brush and a little twist there to make sure those hairs get back into place. But you can do all of this with a brush. You can create all of these options with this one tool with the same amount of ink on the brush. So that's one of the cool things about the brush. The other cool thing for me, hey, Daniel Ferrer, what's up, brother? The other cool thing, and then I'll get to some of the questions in the chat, that nothing compares to is you cannot feel the brush hitting the paper. It's a completely different sensation than using a pen or a marker, and it's a completely different sensation than using your tablet and your stylus or your Apple Pencil, which you get pretty close to the feel working digitally, because you can get a really smooth brush stroke going, like on an iPad with Apple Pencil. And I have fun with that, but it's still about pressure, and it's still about hitting that glass with pressure. And with the brush, you do not feel this. And I remember when I started working for Danny Mickey, that was one of the things I asked him. And he was like, "Oh, no one's ever asked about that, but that's part of brush inking." Because I asked him, I said, can you feel the brush bending? Because you don't really feel this. It's a visual thing. I shut my eyes, I can't really tell you how hard I'm pushing down with the brush. So it's totally a visual thing mixed with muscle memory. And yeah, he said, no, I still don't feel the brush. And he had been inking for 50 years already, because Danny Mickey's 175 years old. He's super old. But he had been inking for years and years already. And he said, nope, you never actually feel the brush. It just glides over the paper. And that's sort of one of the things I really like, because to me, it's not just about the final piece. It's about the experience of the art piece as you're working on it. But that being said, I like all the different tools. Took me a while to pick up on digital, and while I don't like it for everything, and I don't like it always, I absolutely love working digital sometimes. I created a completely digital page the other day for Hammerella. From the pencils were done in my sketchbook, and then I took a snapshot of those, dropped them into Procreate, and created a full page, pencils, inks, and colors. And some pages I will be doing traditionally, like this one. I always show this one because I've got it traditionally inked with a brush. I've got a video I'm going to be posting this week showing the brush inks of this. But certain pages are going to be done digitally. Certain pages are going to be done traditionally. So, all right, let's check out the chat here. Hey, what's up? We got Page One Comics. Hey, Dragon Rage has only got 24 hours. That is Jimmy Reyes' comic that he is doing with David Philpott. It is one of the coolest fantasy comics out there right now. It's over on IGG. Go check out Page One Comics. This book is killer. This young girl finds herself in the middle of a battle, and they're both trying to use her. Why? Because she's got the powers to turn into a freaking dragon. I love the concept. I love the idea. Jimmy's art and Jimmy's page is fantastic. So check out his Page One Comics YouTube and check out his book Dragon Rage. They are not a paid sponsor. I just actually really like it. Okay. Win, did you use a brush while working at Top Cow? I started using a brush when I worked at Top Cow. I mean, I would use it to fill in large black areas. And I really wanted to get more into brush, but working over Broussard in the beginning was kind of tough because he chewed up the paper with the pencil. And that's fine. He reworked it, and I could ink over it with a nib. The nib, you could kind of fight more against the cut up paper, where the brush just kind of fell in line to all the grooves and stuff like that. So there are things like whenever you see these kind of lines in my Top Cow work, these sort of chisel lines, those are definitely brush. And even as I say that, I go, no, they're not, because there were times where I would try to recreate that look. I'd give like a blunty brush end and then build those lines up with a nib. So I did go back and forth, but for the most part, you can kind of tell when it's these lines that it's purely brush. And if you can hear music in the background, that's Institute 91. All right, just remember, whoa, WWMD, what would Malin do? He would definitely use a Sharpie. I believe that's the answer to that. I do believe so. So I'm gonna do some inking warm up on my little blue line sheet. Now, again, those of you just joining, this was a commission I did of a Doughboy, and it basically got lost in the mail, so I'm recreating it. And later tonight, I'll probably be hopping back on for late night inks and working on the actual piece. Trying to make him super heroic. I may finish some of the penciling live there too. One of our boys. Oh, hey, I see Ink Spots. Hey, welcome, Ink Spots. Colors for Cash Grab, which I think only has, what is it, a couple more days. So you want to go check out Cash Grab, a hilarious sort of parody comic book starring Cecil. I guess that's all you have to say is Cecil. But Ink Spots colors are fantastic. He is an extremely versatile colorist. I especially love his painting technique and his sense of humor and the way he strokes a ukulele. You can catch Ink Spots hanging out over on Page One Comics too. Great stuff over there. All right, I wish I was around when I wish this was around when I started using a brush, Artsy Designs. I'm sorry, but hey, we're here now. We're all hanging out, talking brushwork. Portugal's Latino. It's more layered, more laid back, but we are trying to avoid it, but it seems unavoidable. Looks like I'm missing some of the, restrictions, yeah. Dragon Rage, Indiegogo, 96080 and 9680 and counting, right on. Let's get it to 20,000. Inking stud, oh, thank you, Ink Spots. I gotta ink my piece for Jimmy's book, says Comic Book Bob. That's gonna be hell, LOL. You can do it, buddy. You can do it. Yes, Ink Spot, master with Crayolas. All right, so this is just a little print up, but like I said, I'm trying to warm up. I haven't inked with a brush for a couple days. Been doing mostly digital work, so I'm trying to warm up and doing tests with the live cam and getting used to using StreamYard because I've got some fun ideas I want to do regarding my newscaster character, Abe Balderman, as an indie news comics reporter. So I'm going to be working on stuff like that this week and kind of building some new ideas for the channel. I'm looking forward to. Oh yeah, I'd love to get Hammerella to 20,000. That would be, that would make everything so easy. That would make Gods and Gears super reality going into next year. I mean, we're making the stuff anyways, but I guess by super reality, I mean like just that much easier. We can put it together that much easier, get it out through Alterna first, issues 5 through 8, and then get Hammerella out as an annual after that. So everyone will get and all the backers are going to get our super special, I call shelf stable copy of Hammerella on the nice paper with the perfect bound. And we're going to have a special announcement tonight about that. And then we're also getting set with Gods and Gears issues 5 through 8, which Dean Kotz will be back handling the art on that. And that's going to be titled The Heart of Racing. And if you've read Gods and Gears 1, you see where the boys end up at the end of issue 4. And one of the boys is going to learn to fall in love with racing, and one of the boys is going to fall in love for the first time. So that is why it's going to be called The Heart of Racing. It's going to be another 4-issue story arc, all action adventure, tons of racing. This one's like tons of racing. I don't want to spoil where they're racing or who they're racing with, but what the hell? They're on another planet, and they're with their car charger from the first series. It's not really a spoiler. All right, you guys. Looks like page 1 is going to be inking tonight. I saw that on the YouTube homepage, and they just sent the link to Ink Spots, so that's definitely going to be a show. You guys are definitely going to want to tune in for that. All right, just warming up on this guy. So always trying to find the silver lining. I'm trying to find the silver lining too. The silver lining. This piece, got lost in the mail, and that's a bummer. But as an artist, it gives me a chance to sort of correct a lot of the mistakes I made. Obviously, the original commissioner was happy with it, and I was happy with it too. But there were little things like an ear adjustment here and there, finger adjustment, stuff like that. And now I get to sort of fix those. So again, that's me trying to find the silver lining in doing a commission twice and losing the original art. The major bummer is I realized today I don't have the zipatone, the tonal work here. You can barely see it in the blue line printout. You can't see it's zipatone, but I'm out. I bought some in Japan a couple years ago at Sakaido, the 6-story art store, and I am out. So I have to put in an order for some more, which again is delaying this for the commissioner. But lucky for me, they are an art collector that is also a friend, not in any rush at all, and I am in constant communication with them, so they know what's up. So yeah, this is just copy paper I'm working on right now with this warm up. Probably go about another 15, maybe 20 more minutes. I may end up breaking out the actual board, doing some penciling too. Might go till about 4 o'clock Pacific. But I am looking forward to re-inking this later tonight, the real deal. I'm having fun with the brush today. Stinger, my brush, is flowing nicely. It's giving me nice, pretty bloops and some sweet diamond lines. So sweet. I just want to throw some diamond lines for a second. Some big ones here. Let's do it. Let's turn up the beats. We got permission from Institute 91 to use their music. So now I'm starting to warm up. Get really clean lines. This is an adjustment. This is using wrist and elbow. So it's wrist turn, elbow's moving, elbow stops, wrist keeps going. It's kind of an old pinstripe move. My grandpa taught me some pinstriping when I was young. He learned from a guy named Shaky Jake that was a famous Southern California pinstriper in the 60s. And my grandpa was like me. He just kind of bounced around learning all kinds of different art techniques, whatever was cool, whatever he wanted to do. And he was pretty good at all of them. I'm going to pull out some of his art sometime. He's a great photographer, fantastic artist, but he just didn't like illustrating that much. He thought it was too much work. I guess when you can just take a picture. All right, loading up the brush again. I'm going to keep playing with some shapes and patterns. Here, we're going to do some more chisel lines. Excuse me. I really like like throwing these kind of patterns into my inking work. I think Frege was calling it like my vector line inking style, kind of like that. So these are a bounce of thick to thin to thick. And when you're doing stuff like this, not only is the line shape and weights sort of important for how it pulls you around. You can almost imagine there's an object here that this is shading. So not only is the thick to thin line weight important, but the actual overall shape of the lines as a group is important. So you could almost, trace a line right around there and right here. So whether these came to a point or blunt end, you still want to be creating clean shapes with your rendering lines. So it's not just about the thick and the thins lining up, it's about the ends creating a shape that you want or tapering off a shape that you want. So blah, blah, blah. Yeah, who didn't click the like button? I think Jimmy's got my back. Jimmy's always got my back. Jimmy's a bro. All right, so then we can build off of these thick ones with some thinner ones. And these are the sort of exercises I recommend for getting comfortable with the brush. It's like I was saying earlier, and like I always say, it's you got to think of yourself in the same manner as an athlete, even though you're just a nerd with a pen or a brush. And you want to get good at taking your shots. An athlete wants to, like a basketball player, you want to be good at running up and down the court. You want to be good at dribbling the basketball. You want to be good at hitting a layup. You want to be good at hitting a free throw. You want to be good at hitting a three-pointer. And there's all these different things, and they go out and they practice all of that stuff, warm up, run drills before each game, and then between games, constantly running drills. Because those drills create the muscle memory. So when you're working on your project or playing your game, you're not stopping to think about the mechanics of things. You're just moving through. All right, we're going to beef these back up now. Start creating a secondary pattern. Now, this will not reveal some shape at the end or some funky face or anything. These are just brush patterns for practicing. Digging this Institute 91 stuff. They are, let's see, Institute 91 is a synthwave band that is doing a soundtrack for City of Rot. City of Rot is written by Spencer Desmond, art by Jeff Elkins, two really good buddies of mine. Go follow Rooster Puncher, which is Spencer's handle. Follow him on YouTube here, and they do the Death Curse Comics podcast. I am sometimes on there. They have Kayla, their editor, on there. And we like to hang out and have a good time. And City of Rot is about Heavy Hank, who is part of a motorcycle club, and they betray him. He ends up in jail. He decides he wants to break out and get revenge, but he's got to kill a bunch of zombies because while he was in jail, a zombie outbreak occurred. And I know you might be thinking zombie fatigue. No. These guys know what they're doing. This book is seriously one of the best looking books out there right now. It's black and white. Jeff's artwork, he looks like he's been doing comics for 20 years, but he's just a noob. He's just a baby. They are funded, but they're going until November 3rd, I believe, election night. I'm going to be doing some live streaming with them. And that's after we do a live draw stream over on Geronimo Draws. Man, I hope I've been keeping all this in frame. I'm going to go back to thin ones here. So these are just sort of the abstractions I do for fun. Like seriously, if I could get paid to just throw brush lines like this that didn't have to actually be anything, I would do that. I have so much fun just doing this. Although I did have fun for years throwing similar lines over different artists. Wasn't always as much fun. Just throwing brush lines is fun. It's just one man. I want to pack the house for the final night tomorrow. Yup, in frame. Thank you, Ferris. Cool. Like I said, Jimmy's always got my back. Nothing but confidence with the dude. You've been out of frame and your mic has been off for 90% of the stream. Always awesome to see that in the chat. Hilarious. Oh, did I mention Jimmy's a funny guy? Yeah, Jimmy's a funny guy too. He doesn't leave all the comedy up to ink spots. It's a little abrupt change in shapes here. So yeah, you just want to get to know the tool. And the brush is freaking awesome, man. And another trick that I am constantly using and reminding and mentioning, not sure if it's a trick, maybe it's just more of a tip, is line up your shot. And what I mean by that is, like I said down here, you want to have a form that you're following with your line. Let's say our lines are going to go up to this thing here, this shape we've created. Now line up your shot. I'm going to be rendering like this around this shape. Now I want it to end here. So I've lined up, that's where I want it to end. I want it to end on this black line. So then I pull back, and I went too far there. I was looking at the camera, but you see what I mean. I aim, line up my shot, pull back, and return. And I want where I stop to be in the wrist rotation. This centered, comfortable. So I want to have my wrist centered, line up my shot, then pull it forward. It's basically like springing it back into place, like returning it to its home. And when you're practicing, you can pass over like that. It's totally fine. You just want to get used to kind of finding that center spot for your wrist. Now, sometimes I go past center, and that's where you can kind of get a flick out of it. You want to be careful because your wrist sometimes your wrist and fingers may work against you. So you want to be careful of that. And again, that's why you practice. And then you can just stop center and use that as your exercise, finding that center spot for your wrist. Did you show how to load and sharpen your brush yet? Let me see if I can get my ink jar out, my beat up old ink jar here. So I dip. Now you guys can't see it, but I can kind of see through the jar. So I also I've just gotten used to how far to dip when I've got it loaded. So I dip about 2/3 to halfway. Then I'm lightly, I guess, kind of flicking it. I call it running some of the extra off the edge, and then I even have a scrap paper over by my jar where I'll do like a test run, and I'll do a slight twist. I don't twist a lot. I just give a slight twist just to make sure that the hairs are all grouping properly around the hair, around the finest hair. Let's get this focused here if we can. And you want to keep that to a point because the longest hairs are in the very center, and the outer hairs taper off. They actually get shorter as the hairs come out from the center. And that's what happens when they start to wear out. You'll lose outer hairs. You won't even notice it. They'll lightly break off over time. They'll end up in your ink jar, and it loses shape, and then it loses the amount of ink that it can hold. So don't know if you missed it, but Ryan, have you figured out how to make a brush like you were using in Procreate? I can't set it up right now. I'll do a Procreate thing. I do have a couple brushes set up that I've manipulated and even dropped in my own shapes for on Procreate, because that was one of the things I was super picky about. So I will, Artsy, we will be getting into that for sure. See if I missed any other questions. You guys can look at the ink patterns really quick while I scope the questions. Yes, Jimmy is correct. Never dip to the cure. It's the hair near the metal handle part. Yeah, I always tell Jimmy like 2/3 or halfway, which you can go further, but if I keep them at halfway, they may not. They may go 2/3. So if they go 2/3, they may go a little further. But I try to keep the line down here so that new inkers and whatever they can over dip a little and it still won't be too much of a mess up. But yeah, you don't. Oh, I just accidentally highlighted a question. I see that you could do that now. Sorry, I'm doing this on my phone instead of a computer, and this is seriously my 3rd time doing StreamYard, so I didn't know that you could do that. Very cool. All right, so we'll be highlighting questions more. That's awesome. You guys saw it here first. All right, so let's see. You know what? I am going to break out the pencils a little because I want to see how that looks on camera. I'm going to zoom in a little. So one of the tweaks I made, let's see if we can even see it. His ear was way too far back. I didn't realize it at the time, but it's dropped down and a little too far back. So in the recreation, I am fixing that. He's a nice Midwest boy with this big old corn-fed round jaw. And I'm going to be adjusting his fingers. He had a tight clenched fist here. I want to have his forefinger a little loose, and down here I'll have his pinky sort of bending out more around the butt of the gun there. So let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go for about 10 more minutes, I think. Daniel asks, has Rocket ever ruined a piece with his paws? No, I have been extremely lucky. Ever since Rocket, my cat, was little, he didn't like it when I snapped my fingers like that. I don't know if it was something about breaking the sound barrier to him or something, but he didn't like that. And when he would look at my desk, I would snap my fingers, and he didn't like it. And he's in 10 years, he's probably climbed on my desk like 2 or 3 times, something like that. He'll get on my lap, no problem. He'll be trying to jump on my lap all the time, but stays off my desk. And before that, the cats I had, the desk was too much of an angle. Rocket's little and he's light, so he can walk on slanty surfaces fine, but the other cats were too big. So they couldn't do it. Hey, go in a little closer here. Oh, hey, trusty sidekick is here, Mr. Wiggins. Fantastic illustrator and inker. Very underused, very underrated. He does not draw like Russ Leach, but he and Russ Leach have this awesome, I don't know how you call it, it's like a modern classic style. Like you look at it and you can see people like Jim Starlin's influence, but it doesn't look like it's from the 80s or anything. Like it totally looks modern. I don't know. It's a very cool style. So I would recommend giving Trusty a follow. I'm always bad at other people's names when I'm on here, but I believe he's on Cross Comics quite often, and they do a lot of live drawing and draw streams. Oh, I see my man Pedro Ang in chat. What is up, Pedro? We're going to be doing a video this week highlighting the animation that Pedro did for Hammerella for the second half of our campaign. He did this beautiful piece where she is jumping and swinging hammers and looking awesome. It's pinned on my Twitter page if you want to check that out. And like I said, we are going to be showcasing it on this channel here now that we're going to be doing live stuff every day. Forrest asked if Trusty has an Instagram. I don't know if Trusty does. I'll let him answer if he is there. His work is great. I was actually just looking at a pinup he had done it came out on a Wednesday. He did a monster pinup, which I don't have handy. But yeah, his work is great. Yeah, my favorite thing that he does is like the classic Marvel women, like Scarlet Witch, or yeah, his Scarlet Witch. That was my favorite. Yeah, so Pedro has is it Tropical? I'm always bad when I'm live trying to come up with names. It's I think it's Tropical Monsters is what Pedro's book that he is working on, that will be crowdfunding, and I am hopefully going to be allowed to do a pinup or something for him. The book looks awesome. He did a animated bit for it that he has shown on Dan's channel, Friga's channel, and Peter Sameti's open mic. I'm dropping pens and pencils here. That it is an awesome bit of animation. Yes, Tropical Magics. I think I said monsters. I meant to say magics. Damn it. Damn it. Anyways, he is Pedro Caicedo on Twitter. He tries to fool me by having a second name on here, but I know it's him. Pedro has become a good friend and just one of my favorite indie creators. Just an all-around great spirit, great guy, but no BS too. Like, he's not one of those people that's just, blowing smoke up your butt or, trying to make friends, like using BS. He is a genuine, super nice guy, looking out for people, looking out to help people. It's rare in this world, and when I meet people like that, I want to keep them. I want to keep them close, and I want to try to reciprocate their friendship and their efforts. Ryan, any art lessons from Travis Charest or Cheris, depending on how you say it? Let me see. I was only around him once, I think, and I didn't know it was him at the time. I don't know what I would have asked him. I mean, I've studied the crap out of his stuff. I'd like to get guys like Joe Weems to come on my channel and give me a talk, because he'd be able to probably expand on that and probably has some stories as well. All right, so now I'm taking a double check at these hands that I'm reworking. I think I'm liking that. It's a little more. I was pretty happy with the original fist, but it just looks too tight, and it doesn't actually look like it's wrapping around the gun properly. Hammerella. Here, we'll highlight this. Hammerella has some boobs. She ain't no fella. Bouncy, bouncy up and down. Back the book, back it now. Very nice, very nice, wonderful. Ink spots. I can hear the stroking of your ukulele. I was gonna say, yes, ukulele. Not even instrument. You're not gonna catch me saying stroking your instrument. Wait, I just did. Damn. Storytelling is impeccable. Yes, I assume you're talking about Travis. Yes. Travis is one of the things that kind of got me back into mainstream comics. I was one of those people that dipped out in the 90s. I didn't really like where things were headed and what was going on. And then I was working in an art store, and my manager was like, well, I mean, you're reading Wildcats, right? I was like, Wildcats, get out of here with that stupid Jim Lee stuff, the Wildcats. And he's like, oh, no. Check out this. And it was, I think, issue 6 of Travis's run. My homie Rich Friend was on inks. I did not know him at the time. I knew him, he was an inker, but I didn't know him. And boy, that first issue I looked at, seriously had me back at the comic shop that week, and I picked up a bunch of those issues and kind of got more into the modern Wildstorm. Now that it wasn't Homage Studios, it was actually Wildstorm, and they had Rich and Sandra there. I was really into their ink crew, even though they were kind of always our competition too, you know. But yeah, I'd like to have Joe Weems on. He'd probably have some Travis stories, but he'll also have he has tons of stories of sort of like the top cow guys like him and Bat going down to Wildstorm and causing trouble and having a good time. Travis does great German art. Would love to see him do a Hellboy crossover. Yeah, something like that would be great. Anything he does. I definitely was thinking about Travis's work when I was working on this. I don't necessarily do everything he would do. He would get really intricate. He would probably do the nylon fabric sort of texture on the backpack straps and the chest bag strap. I forget what that's called right now, but he would probably go in and do like a cross hatching on that, which now I'm like, oh, maybe I should do that. But one of the reasons I didn't do it isn't just because I'm lazy and didn't want to take the time, is that I eventually knew I was going to be laying down Zipatone on this. Let's see, there we go. I knew I was going to be laying down Zipatone and creating a grayish tonal pattern on these straps would sort of let them blend in with the tonal pattern. Even on the old Xerox, you can kind of see how leaving them white against the gray, they popped a little more. But now that I'm doing it, I might play around with it in the pencils and see how it looks, because it is fun to add little textures and details to stuff. You know what? I think I just might do that. Let's see if we can see without blurring. No, you can barely tell. But yeah, I might play around with that. Oh well, it is 4 o'clock. I have to go do some stuff to get ready for popping on open mic tonight and for our new announcements for taking Hammerella further. Hammerella, the girl with the big old hammer for the fellas. And Colin, oh, you're late, you were sleeping, that's okay. I'm going to be back on later tonight when I finish inking the pencils for this. Late Night Inks, we're going to be handling the inks on our Doughboy Soldier. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for showing up. Make sure to back Wirehead, Cash Grab, Dragon Rage. Go ahead and check out Hammerella. We've got 28 days left. We are 78%. And City of Rot has a few more days as well. I believe City of Rot and Cash Grab both close on the 3rd. So pay attention to those. And thank you all for joining. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and take it easy.